Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. So it's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like BioSteel, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off, online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Fricali. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu, and with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up. Well, welcome back to another episode of On Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and today's episode we are joined by a very special guest, former professional hockey player Brent Walton. Wally is a former professional hockey player who played in the American Hockey League with the Syracuse Crunch, East Coast Hockey League with the Dayton Bombers, while also making trips overseas to Germany, Denmark, and then the United Kingdom in Cardiff to play for the Cardiff Devils. Wally played 4 years of NCAA Division I college hockey for Western Michigan University and spent 1 year in the MWJHL for juniors with the Elmira Sugar Kings. Brent is also a host for a podcast called Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. It's a very good podcast, so you guys should definitely go check that out. But it's going to be a really fun episode, so welcome to the show, Brent Walton.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's always nice to be asked to do a podcast, so yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw your podcast, and I've been watching every episode since, and I was like, I have to get this guy on. So here we are.
What episode? How did you find out about it? Which episode would it be?
I think it was the one with Evan Mosey. Like that's the one that the first one that I started, and then I just looked back at like all the other ones as well, and then I saw the one with Mac with Caruth, and then the Caruth and Mosey episode, and I've been living those.
Yeah, man, it's been very, very interesting for me because it's just from this shed here in Kincardine, Ontario, and having those two guys on started this thing in the UK league that now when Matt Caruth is on the ice, they throw Twix at him after a win. And now they even have the away fans throwing it at him when he wins on the road. So like from that to start from shooting the breeze in my shed is pretty crazy. And I guess the way the whole thing started and the reason I decided I could start a podcast and whatever is I'd been out of the game for 5 years, and Cardiff brought me back for a Wally Night, and I guess that today is 2 years since that day. So that's kind of how I got back into the game. Was I missed the Wally? I missed the guy I used to be, you know.
Yeah. So what was that Wally day like, and just going back to Cardiff and like having that night there?
The whole thing was just bizarre, right? Because I didn't really understand why they were bringing me back. Because I'd only played, I guess I was on the team for 2 seasons, but 1 year I played, and then the next year I had a career-ending injury. So then I guess they said I'd only played 84 games ever for them, and for them to bring me back 5 years later and to be the first player they've brought back as the new ownership group, yeah, pretty weird. But
yeah, you must have done something right there.
Well, I don't know, but I guess when I got hurt, I had a young family, and basically usually they would ask you to go home, and they let me stay. I didn't know what I was going to do next in my life. And
Yeah.
they didn't really give me a job description. So I ended up being one of the power play coaches. And then I did some pregame speeches as well for the team that got a little carried away. Just tried to help any way I could, really. And I guess that's what it was about.
Yeah, absolutely. But they brought you back and you had a ton of fun. Like I'm sure everyone, the ownership, everyone, the fans, like everyone had a lot of fun. I saw on your Instagram story with like everyone saying like the goat, like your name and everything like that.
I'm not the
That must
goat
be pretty
though. That
cool.
was me doing that for my buddy. So Joey Martin was on the team. His first year on the team was my first year on Cardiff when we got new owners, and it was a whole new squad kind of. And he became their goat and their leading scorer ever and the captain. And when I went over there, that had all happened since I had played with him. So he was playing in the game and was the captain then, and he was going through a slump. So I tried to get him going by spray painting myself as him, and then ripping my jersey off in the crowd, spray painted as
Did
him.
it work though?
That was he scored that goal to go up 1-0 in the third period of Wally Night, and they ended up winning 3-0, and then they went on like I think it was like a big winning streak after that, and yeah, it was pretty fun though. It was pretty fun to go back and remember who you used to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So going about Cardiff, like what was your time in Cardiff like? You spent 2 years there, like 84 games or something like you said. So like what was your whole experience there and just being in
Oh,
Cardiff? Because it's a great organization from what I've heard.
well, that was right when it started becoming a great organization. It was my first year there was with the new GM and owners, and they're from Calgary, Alberta. The four fellas and Todd, who runs it over there, and they just get it. They know what hockey players need. They give you the sticks you need. They give you the skates you need. If your apartment is shitty, then they'll get you a better one or fix it, or like they want no understand that hockey players need to be happy to play good, and
Yeah.
they ensure that they give you everything you need, that there's no excuses. But the craziest part for me while I was there, and that they've done all this for me, was I did my MBA while I was over there the first year. So I think it was like I played 75 games, did my master's in a year, and then I also had a kid that year and a toddler. So it was a busy time in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still found time to, I guess, get to know all the fans to the point that this is all happening.
Yeah, absolutely. What a wild time. Like what was it like going through your masters while also playing 75 plus games?
To be honest, there were games where, like, because of the kids and everything, that like I could be so tired I could feel like throwing up when I got to the game. But I'd been doing it. That was my 10th year pro. I'd been doing it long enough. You could kind of put the body in autopilot, and I could. It was like playing the third game in 3 nights in the coast. Like you can just get through it, and your body knows what to do. You're like, once you've done it long enough, it's just kind of comes natural. So it was fine. I actually had a good season. I started out really slow because of my knee, but then ended up being on like the all-star team and was one of the top scorers in the league. So it all went good. It was just really busy, and I was used to be able to go out with the boys after games every time, and then I had to like go home and write papers. It was just a different lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure. A busy lifestyle, that's for sure. And since you were back in school and just being able to like write those papers, like you said, like that's no fun. But hey, when you're playing the game with the boys, like you just cherish those moments when then you go back and you're able to just grind through because you go with the boys the next day.
Oh yeah, and yeah, that builds character when you go out with the boys and have to. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So throughout that time in Cardiff, you also won an EIHL Cup championships. Like, what was winning that championship like, and spending it with the Cardiff fans, and just having a team that won the championship?
Well, it was incredible because like it's my first year over there. From when, like, I guess when I signed there and I was doing my research, was they had finished ninth place the season before. I guess there were guys not missing pay checks, and the sticks weren't good, and the whole situation wasn't good with the past owners. And then they got the new guys, and we had everything we needed, but we were a bunch of misfits that, like, when they took over the team in the middle of summer and threw together a team of guys that really had been castaways from other teams. And, but we were all dandies. So when we got there, like, we had tough guys. Like, we had 5 or 6 tough guys. We had scorers. We had goaltending. We had offensive D. We had D men that killed guys. And we had just this mix of a team that, like, were just dandies off the ice and on the ice. And we'd beat people up, we'd score more than them, and, like, the fans just started loving us. And it was an incredible year, really. But in the UK, the biggest championship is winning the regular season, and we lost it by 2 points, I think it was. And after the Challenge Cup is what we won. That was in the middle of the season, and the boys blew the doors off that night, and we lost the next game 11-0, and we lost the regular season by 2 points. But that just shows, like, what type of team we had and the type of guys we had.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, what do you learn through that that whole experience of winning, like, the RBC championship in the middle of the season, and then just going throughout the season playing, and then finding out that you lost the regular season by 2 points?
Wow, there's so many games in the middle of the regular season that it's hard to you could have won any of them. And if that's what's so hard about the UK league, is that every game is as important as the next one. You could beat the second place team or first place team, but then if you lose to one of the brutal teams, then it's the same thing, right? You still lost 2 points. So it's a long season.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, throughout, like, when you go overseas to play hockey, like, you hear about all the fans and, like, how the fans are different from North America. Like, what's that atmosphere like, and just being, like, in a soccer style atmosphere with the fans going crazy throughout the entirety of the game?
Germany, I was there for 6 years, which was my most time in Europe. And, like, those fans were like soccer fans, like, in Europe. Like, there would be SWAT police at the games against, like, and they would have flares, and there would be people, like, trying to light off, like, flares or fireworks in the middle of the game. And, like, there was a game I played in Germany where the other team wasn't playing good and we're on the road, so their own fans started throwing beer glasses on the ice, and they were smashing on the ice after they were about to lose, and it's like the last minute of the game, and they're, like, smashing glass all over the ice. It can be pretty wild, but then when they like you, it can be really, really fun.
Yeah, you just gotta get them to like you, and even if you're playing the away building, if they like you, like, it makes the
away team
even better.
Will never like you, but yeah, they could respect you, I guess.
Yeah, respect is a better word, but, like, you hear it all the time about, like, the soccer style of fans and everything. But, like, what was your time in Germany like? Like you said, you spent 6 years over there, and, like, with the fans, like, you spent times with the Cannibals, the Steelers, and the Falcons. Like, what were those teams like, and just being able to play in Germany?
Well, my first year I went over there, like, a month or two into the season, late, because I wasn't sure what I was doing, and then I decided to go, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was so much more fun than playing in the East Coast, less travel. It was like hockey was fun again. If you won a game, there was a couple beers in the room. And you won a game on the road, you'd have a beer too on the bus ride back. And it was just like hockey was hockey again. And I don't know, it's just fun. And then the first year we surprised some people and made it to the finals, which we weren't supposed to. And it was a best of 5. We lost in game 5 in overtime. So that sucked. But then the next year I switched to a bigger budget team, Bietigheim, and we won it. The whole thing. So that was really fun. Parade and the whole deal was winning over there was like, I was so young. It's hard to appreciate it like you would if you were older. Cause I was, like, I think 23 or 24.
Yeah.
And I was really doing her at that point. And then we won it all. And then the next season I tore my PCL and had PCL reconstruction and missed an entire season after 4 games. So that really derailed my progress.
Yeah, but, like, going on in that championship where you won it all, like, you have that parade. Like, what's that parade like, especially in Germany? Because, like, especially because, like, in North America, like, I'm sure it'd be a bit different.
Do you want the truth?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. Well, we got back from winning it in Munich late at night. It was like 2:33 a.m. and they took us to a warehouse with like thousands of fans with a live band and everything. And we kept going for quite some time. And then we woke up around noon the next day and all texted or called each other and said, let's go downtown. We're champions. So I had told the boys, because I'm not very into fashion, I had old blue jeans I used to wear to games. And I told the boys I'd cut them off and wear them downtown the next day. So I did that really short. I cut them really short and I went downtown like that for beers. And then we were there and we had like our fill and we were having a good day and people started all showing up downtown, like lots of people. And we didn't even realize what was happening. And then one of the Germans shows up and says, what are you guys doing? Like, we have a parade right now. You're supposed to be there. And I'm in my cutoff jeans with my dog. And like another guy's got his dog. So there's like 6 of us piled in this tiny little hatchback, and I get in the trunk with the 2 dogs and my cutoff jeans, and we go to the parade. And when I got out, the news was filming me get out of the back of the trunk with the 2 dogs and my cutoff jeans, and then I got on the float and hit the town.
What a parade debut, and everything that went on there, and just being it. Hey, but you make memories out of that, and like that's all that matters when you look back at it.
It was really, really fun. And no, there was like fireworks going off downtown. There was like a big fire. It was the first pro championship in Baden-Württemberg, which is like their province. So it was a big deal. There was thousands and thousands of people at this parade. And I just happened to be in cutoff jeans by accident.
Yeah, they're just looking at you like, what is this guy wearing?
Yeah, basically. They all knew me though.
Yeah, that makes it a little bit better for sure.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, but throughout that time in Germany, like what was that development period like, especially since you were younger and getting older throughout that time, like
it
just
was
going on
not
with
good.
development?
Because of my knee, like I was on the rise my first 2 years there. Like my first year I did well, and then we go to the finals, and both years or both playoff series, the teams we played against both offered me a contract. So obviously I was doing something. And then I go to the big budget team, the team that's trying to win the league to move up, and they give out bigger contracts to the second league. And we do that. We win it, but it's the same year of the financial crisis. So they don't move up to the first league, which was the whole plan. So we were supposed to be in the first league. We're not the start of the next year. And I partially tear my PCL in preseason, and then the coach convinced me to come back too early, and then I fully tore it 4 games into the regular season, and then I had to have knee reconstruction and missed the whole season. So that was a tough time in my life. I'd never missed a game in 10 years, and then I miss a whole season. I'm not like part of it, and you're living in Germany and you're not a part of it. So that year was tough. And then basically I had to try and figure it out again. I had to try and learn to play with the knee the way it is nowadays. And I was never the same after that. So I guess development wise, that injury really derailed me. And it was because I came back too soon from a partially torn one. So if anyone's listening that thinks they need to play through something, when you don't, you shouldn't.
Yeah, probably it is not worth it for sure, because you weren't playing as well as you were before that, and like it just derailed
for the rest
everything.
Of my career. Yeah. No, it was my career was on the rise until that injury, no doubt.
Yeah. So like, what was that process like to go through that injury and just be able to just try to get it as healthy as it can before like you realize that like it's not going to be the same again?
Well, it was like, I don't know. There's like that documentary with McDavid about what he went through to rehab a PCL injury. Like,
yeah.
I basically had one that the same thing, but kind of worse. And like, I didn't have anyone really to help me. I was doing it myself. Like, I went home this summer and I went to the local physiotherapy place and did the physiotherapy in my hometown. Like, there was no team helping me. I had to figure it out on my own and figure out how to come back. And it's like, I don't have the budget to be paying all these masseuses and all these other people to help me. Like I have to, if I want to be a hockey player still, I have to figure out how to get better. Right.
Yeah.
And I did. I got good enough to play. I think it was like another 6 years after, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, but you realize that you should stop after that whole injury and then the career-ending injury as well.
Well, it was this saying the knee went for good, then it locked on me. So
Oh yeah,
played
that's
another game at the end of my career there, and it was like 3 times the size of my other one, but it was like just fluid. So it didn't really hurt. It just didn't move right. And then yeah, the next morning I was going to pick up my parents and driving standard, and my knee literally locked like I was a pirate.
oh,
I literally couldn't bend my knee anymore. So that was the end of it. All the cartilage had broke off and all that good stuff.
well, that's not good. But before you went to Germany, you also played in the East Coast in the American League. You played with the Dayton Bombers in the Coast, where you played 57 games, going with 24 goals, 20 assists, 44 points. So like, what was that year like in Dayton, and just being able to produce in your first official year of pro?
Yeah, I was I don't know, it was mixed emotions on that one because like I had been a pretty big scorer in college, and when I left, the expectations were I'd get an NHL deal, and then I signed a one-way AHL deal, and then never really got a chance when I got there the start of that season. So then they sent me down to the coast, and like I had a tough start there mentally because your confidence is shaken or whatever. But then
Yeah.
by the end, you accept you're in the coast and that's what you're doing, and you do the best you can. And by the end of that season, like the guys that we had there were all great guys, and we weren't probably the most talented in the league, but we had a great goalie and we had a great coach that knew defense, and we went all the way to the finals. Not by scoring a lot of goals, but by playing great defense. And it changed my career having that coach, because he taught me how to play defensive hockey, and that was really the knock against me until that year.
Yeah, absolutely. So like so you're going through that, like you get sent down on the coast, and like you have a great coach, but your mindset really isn't there. So like, how do you like shake that confidence or get that confidence back to where it was, especially after accepting that you're in the coast?
Actually, I think the first real heater I went on was actually when they called me up to the AHL for like just a weekend, and just that I was still on the radar and still had a chance. And then once you up and play those games, it's weird because once you go back down, the first few games are easy, and then it goes back to the way it was, and you're like, oh, it's not easy anymore. So I don't know. It's just you come back with a little more pep in your step.
Yeah, absolutely. So through when you do get sent back down the coast, like you score your first pro goal, you get 24 other goals that season. So like what was that first pro goal like?
It was like I think it was like the fifth game into it. So, and I had already played like, I think I had played a few HL games the year before, and then the start of that season, it looked like I was going to stay in the A, and then I get sent down, and then it wasn't until like my fifth game I didn't even have a point, I don't think. And I was really frustrated. So finally, the relief of actually finally putting one in, because that's basically what I was there to do, is be a scorer when you're 5'8" and little, and if you're not scoring, you're not very effective.
Yeah, but you get that monkey off the back, and you finally able to score, and then start producing from there.
Yeah, and I played with Justin Miser and Joe Cullen was my line. They're both defensive first guys that are always on the right side of the puck. And that was drilled into us all year. And we were basically the line that played against the other team's top lines. And I went from basically being known as a defensive liability to being trusted to play against other team's top lines. And this coach, driving in defense first to me, that it really did change me as a player, that once I learned that side of it, and then I could kind of play my offensive game but still have that side of it as well, it is definitely why I played as long as I did, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, would you say like the one thing, or the biggest thing you learned throughout that years was how to play defense, and like how to just sit back, play defense while also being able to just use that scoring touch of yours to score some goals?
Yeah, basically, I kind of found that like it helped me be able to play up and down the lineup because then I could play, I could be the scorer on a third line because I wasn't a liability. I could play against their team's top lines. I could, they're going to trust me when it's the end of a game. So that was, I would say, the biggest development I had that year. And it was just interesting how when I was in the AHL, the coach didn't coach. You could either do it or if you couldn't, that they were done with you. So when you get to the coast and he actually takes the time to teach you, and once he explained defense to us as a team, he explained it so easily, and we played his system so well that teams just couldn't score on us. So then we ended up beating like the Florida Everblades in the semifinals as the Dayton Bombers. Like that stuff's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, and you just that's a big thing is trust too, because once you have that trust between coaches and everything, like everyone believes in each other, and like you can build that chemistry within the room and really go on a run like you guys did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it was we were a team for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, what was your first like welcome to the pros moment?
Ah, it would definitely be when I went to Syracuse out of the AHL. After my senior year, they sent me there, or they asked for me to come on a tryout and said they wanted first crack at signing me July 1st. They wanted to see a look at me. Realistically, I'd been done for 2 weeks. Wasn't in the shape I needed to be in to be heading to my first pro tryout. Because the boys had been having fun when the season was over, and I didn't realize I was going for sure. And then I go, and when I walk in the locker room and I'm 5'8" and like I'm not jacked, but like when I saw the fighters in the AHL back then, man, like Mike Scroy was on our team, Brandon Sugden, there were guys that were absolute killers. And I saw like Mike Scroy work a heavy bag in the locker room, and he was like doing spinning back fists and spinning elbows and like kicks. And I was like, this is my line mate tonight. So yeah,
Yeah,
that
and
was.
you just look at them and like, what am I getting myself into?
I'm going to be on the ice with these people. Yeah, yeah,
And then potentially have to go up against these guys that for a fight if I have to.
yeah, exactly. Well, I'm definitely not fighting them. They'd absolutely kill me.
Yeah. Yeah, but I want to use this time to jump into your college and junior days a little bit here. So you went to Western Michigan University for 4 years. Like, what was your experience all throughout all 4 years of playing at Western Michigan, and also with you were also an assistant captain. I don't know what I was trying to say there, but like taking on that leadership role.
Yeah, basically like when I got recruited to Western Michigan, they were ranked like top 10 in the country, and it was like a no doubter to go there. And and then kind of every year we kind of got like, well, my freshman year, our junior class was extremely good. There was a class filled with like impact players, and everybody always talked about when they became juniors or seniors that was going to be the years. And then those years came and went, and we never did win anything. And really, there were some positions maybe we're lacking in, but like, and then the recruiting changed, and they started bringing in different type players and not really scorers. And then by my senior year, there wasn't a lot of scoring depth on the team, and it was very challenging. And we didn't win a lot of games at the end. It kind of progressively got worse while I was there, and it was really hard to be a part of as a hockey player. I'm proud of winning. I won basically everywhere I went except for college. And it's tough when you don't get to recruit the players, but they're my best friends. But it's like, we could, and we also had great players. Like if you look at the rosters, every class had like a guy that became a very good pro. We just couldn't put it together. And like I said, I didn't know how to play defensive hockey until I went to pro. So you can put that together.
Yeah, and that's also a very important factor is building that team to be one together and just be able to
Well, the
play
guys
play
we
some
were a
defense.
team away from the rink. Everybody was a team. Like we were all in it together, but there was a disconnect, I think,
Yeah.
between yeah, there was a disconnect there by the end for sure between the players and at least one of the coaches.
Yeah, but throughout like that time when you're facing like all these challenges, like what are some of the biggest things that you learn, especially when like things aren't going right, like you're not winning, you're not scoring, like what do you learn from those experiences?
Um, I mean, I don't know. It's just like in hockey, what I've figured out over the years is you just can't get too high or too low because every day is different. You have good days, you have bad days, you have good games, you have bad games. Like you're gonna make mistakes and they're gonna end up in the back of your net. And like if you live with that for too long, then it's gonna affect your next game. And if you have a great game and you think you're king shit, you're not gonna be as good the next game, right?
Yeah, exactly. But then you go into take that assistant captain role. So like did that like change you as a player? Just like folks like since you had that like that letter, like did it change you to like make you just seem like more like a just to do everything for your team?
I think I always kind of played that way. It was, I mean, on the ice, I think I always led by example. It's, I guess you try and grow up a little more off the ice when you become a captain in college.
Yeah. Yeah, make sure you stay safe and don't go partying and throwing away your season.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Make
but
sure the
then
boys are staying in line too.
yeah, exactly. But like where like going into like when you were in juniors, like how do you find your way onto Western Michigan? Like how do you get recruited or like what was the process like to get there?
So I played 3 years in Elmira for the Sure Kings. It's just not on like the website there.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm too old, I guess. But my rookie year, I made the team as a young guy, 15, turning 16, and then played that season. And I guess it was after that year I was drafted to the OHL. I could have gone to Brampton. Went there for training camp. They kind of mentioned I would be on the team. They moved me into billets, and I said like, no, I want a scholarship. And then it was Stan Butler was the coach there. He was great to me about it. He said, if you think you can get one, he's like, go for it because we're not sure where you fit in as this young. They did end up trying to get me to come back later on when I went back to Elmira and started scoring, but so then my second year in Elmira, I was doing really well. I was up in like the top 5 in scoring in the league, and then broke my thumb in the All-Star game.
Oh,
So then that gave me the opportunity to actually go see some schools because I broke my thumb. So I went to see Western Michigan play, and I went to see Northeastern play. And being from a small town in Canada, Northeastern just in Boston was just too much for me. Like it was just too big city for a little town guy like me. So then went to Kalamazoo, and I loved it from the start. They were playing Michigan and like the underdog mentality and the crowd of the Boston Lunatics. It was just a no brainer to go there. They're ranked top 10 in the country at the time. Um, so Northeastern offered me to go as like a 17-year-old as like a true freshman. I didn't think I was ready. So then Western, they weren't offering a full ride. So then I took Western offered a full ride, but I had to play another year junior. So I did that and ended up that year was like, well, yeah, it was a really good year. I broke team record for goals and yeah, had a lot of points and led the league. And then we ended up going to the finals of the whole thing and losing in game 7. But yeah, my second year when I came back from my thumb injury, we did win it all though. So yeah, that's where like when I learned how to win and I learned about winning best of sevens and playoffs was the leadership group I had in junior and us doing it. You got to go through that stuff and how hard it is to know how to win, right?
yeah, exactly. And like going from like 15, 16-year-old and like entering juniors, like what's that change like? Because you're facing guys that are 18, 19, 20. Like what you really have to grow up in the game and just be like a bigger, like not you don't have to be a bigger guy, but like be more mature and like quit become more of age. Like what was that? What were those years like, especially going 15 to 16?
I would say the biggest adjustment was back then there's still a lot of fighting and like when you're playing 18 to 20-year-olds and like they were big boys and they were guys that could fight. And when you're a little guy that's 15, 16, that's not big.
Yeah.
You had to learn to like play that like how to still succeed against that. And it took me a year to really feel comfortable out there, and I was tiptoeing around a bit. And then, by your second year, you get through a year and you grow up a bit, you get bigger, you get stronger. And then by the second year, you're like, okay, I can do this. Right. And that's kind of how it went.
Yeah, absolutely. You grow into yourself and grow into like the maturity level, especially when you have to go against those 18, 19, 20-year-olds and just you're facing guys that are bigger and stronger than you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I have a few more questions for you before you wrap things up here, because I know you got to get going. But do you have any tips for hockey players looking to get to that next level?
Well, for me, it was always having fun, right?
Yeah, that's why you play the game.
That's why I got into hockey. That's why I became good at it. Wasn't because my parents made me do it. Wasn't because coaches made me do it. It was because I wanted to. I'd play on the driveway by myself all the time, right?
Yeah.
I think it's do it for yourself. Don't do it for other people.
Yeah, that's a great tip, because there's always those people that like want to put you into it just because they did it. But if you do it just for yourself and just for the love of the game and having fun, like that what makes it better. And like especially when you're going through like hard times throughout the games, and you just bring it back to that moment where it's like you love the game and like this is why I'm playing, is because I want to have fun.
Yeah, and when it becomes a job, it's really, and you're not playing for the love of it, it becomes really tough. And I had those years in Germany. And then it was when I went to Cardiff, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make this fun again. And I made a point of that. And I guess that's how you end up with a Wally night later on, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just having fun and having a great time creating Wally night.
Just be yourself, right? Just be
Yeah,
yourself.
that's the biggest thing, is just be yourself, because no one's gonna want to be around you if you're not yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And
But
there was years I tried to be like the rest of them and just foam roll and protein shake and cold tub. And like by the time you get out of the rink, it's like an hour and a half later. And sometimes I didn't want to be there that long,
yeah, just do whatever you gotta do and have fun, get out of there.
Yeah. And if you win a game, if the boys want me to do a dance in the middle of the room, I'll do a dance for them, right?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. What a time.
Yeah.
But you have a podcast, like we said earlier, called Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally's. Like, what are the origins of the podcast, and like some of your favorite parts about creating a podcast?
Wow, man, it's been life changing, I guess. Yeah, it's been ranked number one in the UK. It's multiple times, lots of times, I guess. And it's been ranked number one in Denmark, couple other countries. But like basically, I missed my friends. So after Wally night, I kind of went back to just normal life again. And then COVID hit, and I was working from home for a very long time, and the brain just is swirling. And then I was listening to a podcast that basically had become all NHL superstars. And it just really wasn't what I was into. That wasn't the life I had lived. Those weren't the stories that, like, I don't have private jets. We didn't have a lot of money. There's a lot of my buddies that don't have much when they're done at the end of their career, but they loved hockey and they did what they wanted for a long time. So I just thought of it one day. I guess I had listened to Joe Rogan, and like at first I had thought a podcast needed to be like 3-4 guys. And I'm like, well, that would never work because I don't have time for that. And then I listened to Joe Rogan, and I didn't really know anything about podcasts. I'm like, so you can just be one guy and interview another guy. I'm like, well, shit, I know a lot of my buddies have cool stories. They've had kids all over the world. They've raised kids all over the world. They've played in different countries. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I could do it. I could talk to people. I'm like, then I'd have a reason to talk to all my friends. And once I thought of it, it's just been full go since then. I had a neighbor. I told him my vision of basically I go through a guy's career, like from basically what I do is I do an intro. We talk about how we know each other first, and then we go through their career and what they're doing now, whether they're a current player or retired. And yeah, that's basically what we do. And we sometimes crush quite a few beers, depending if they're an active player or not.
Yeah, absolutely. But the stories are the best parts because you've heard them. Like there's some that you probably have never heard before, and it's just the stories and like how they got to where they are. Like that's what makes it fun, and just learning about like everything they've done in the past from their youth to get to where they are now.
Well, it's like for me, the craziest part is like I was out of the game for 5 years. I had nothing really to do with it. Now I love the game more than ever.
Yeah.
And like, that Mac and Mosey, like I didn't know them. I didn't know them a couple months ago. Now, like we literally have a group chat where we're talking about their games. We're talking about, I coach my son's team, a U11 team, and like we're talking about the games, we're talking about what's going on. And it's like I've made new friends by starting a podcast. And like, yeah, like I don't get paid for it. I do it for fun, but like now we're trying to donate to charity. I got a website and it's all from people volunteering for me. It's all very strange.
Yeah, yeah, and it's something about hockey. Like any hockey players like you meet, like they instantly become your friends, and like just like you miss the locker room talks, locker rooms with the talks in the locker room with the boys, like everything with the game, and like just like a podcast is pretty much locker talk with the boys.
Well, and that's exactly what it is. And I've caught up with all my old friends and I know what they're doing now. I know about their kids and like it was a part of my life that was dormant for like 5 years. But like some of the guys I haven't like your careers intersect like for 1, 2, maybe 3 years, and then your lives go different ways. Like you play with a guy in Germany and then he goes back to his hometown and you go back to your hometown when the season's over, and like you can never see each other again, and that's just normal in the hockey world when you play
Yeah.
10 years. And now I have a reason to catch up with all those guys, and like tomorrow night I'm having on my 3 roommates from Western Michigan, and we were best friends and we still are, but now we just don't see each other, and now we're gonna all get together and shoot the shit, and it's gonna be a hell of a time.
Absolutely. It's gonna be that's gonna be a lot of fun, and just make for good memories, and like tell like all the stories again. Like those are the best.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So my final question for you is like, what's your favorite pump up song? Like what are you listening to when you want to get a little when you want to just feel good about yourself and just feel good about the music?
Well, I guess I would have to say it's my intro song for the podcast, is just because, as a hockey player, everybody's so into trying to look like a pro and make sure they do everything right and make sure they're, and then it took a long time to realize like maybe I'm not for everyone. Like I have fun when I play. I make it light. And the song is I'm Not for Everyone, Brothers Osborne. So that song.
Yeah, that I do like that intro song. That's for sure. It's a good one.
Yeah. So that'd be it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But Wally, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time on, and wish you the best of luck going forward. And I look forward to listening to the rest of your episodes.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for reaching out and having me on. And I mean, that's the only way we can all do this, right? Is if people are willing to come on.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
And I love talking hockey. And, I'm always the one asking questions, preparing. And today was pretty easy. I just have to show up and answer the questions.
Yeah, exactly. It's the best when you don't have to prepare for anything.
Exactly.